Iyob, Job, chapters 22 through 31. Iyob, Job, chapter 22. And Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, Would a strong man be of use to El? Even he who is wise be of use to him? Is it a delight to El Shaddai that you are righteous, or gain that you make your ways perfect? Is it because of your reverence of him that he reproves you, or enters into right ruling with you? Is not your evil great? And is there no end to your wickednesses? For you take pledges from your brother for naught, and strip the naked of their garments. You do not give the weary water to drink, and you have withheld bread from the hungry. But the man of strength, he has the earth, and the highly respected man dwells in it. You have sent widows away empty, and the arms of the fatherless are crushed. Therefore snares are all around you, and sudden fear alarms you, or darkness so that you do not see, and a flood of water covers you. Is not Eloah in the height of Shamayim? And see the highest stars, how lofty they are. And you have said, What does El know? Would he judge through the dense cloud? Clouds screen him so that he does not see, and he moves about the circuit of the Shamayim. Do you observe the old way which wicked men have trod, who were cut down before their time, whose foundations were swept away by a flood? They said to El, Turn aside from us. And what did El Shaddai do to them? Yet he filled their houses with the good, but the counsel of the wicked has been far from me. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent mock at them. Truly our adversaries are cut off, and fire has consumed their excess. Be of service to him, and be at peace. Thereby barakah shall come to you. Please accept the Torah from his mouth, and lay up his words in your heart. If you return to El Shaddai, you are built up. If you remove unrighteousness far from your tents, and lay gold in the dust, and the gold of Ophir among the stones of the wadis, then El Shaddai shall be your gold and your silver, strength to you. Then you shall certainly delight in El Shaddai, and lift up your face to Eloah. Make your prayer to him, and he shall hear you, and you shall pay your vows. And whatever you decide on shall be established for you, and light shine on your ways. For they have made low, and you say, Up, and he saves the lowly of eyes. Would he deliver one who is not innocent? So by the cleanness of your hands you shall be delivered. Iyob, Job, chapter 23. And Iyob answered and said, Even today my complaint is bitter, my hand is heavy on account of my groaning. If only I knew where to find him, I would come to his dwelling. I would present my case before him and fill my mouth with proofs. I would know the words which he would answer me, and understand what he would say to me. Would he contend with me in great power? No, but he would pay attention to me. There the upright might reason with him, and I would go safe forever from my judge. See, I go forward, but he is not, and backward, but I do not perceive him. To the left where he is working, but I do not see. He turns to the right, but I do not see. For he knows the way that I take. When he has tried me, I would come forth as gold. My foot has held fast to his steps. I have guarded his way and did not turn aside. I have not strayed from the command of his lips. I have treasured the words of his mouth more than my portion. But he is one, and who turns him? And he does whatever his being has desired. For he completes my portion, and many like these are with him. Therefore I am troubled at his presence. I consider, and I am afraid of him. For El has made me faint-hearted, and El Shaddai has alarmed me, because I was not cut off before darkness, and from my face he has covered the thick darkness. Iyob, Job, chapter 24. Times are not hidden from El Shaddai, and why have not those who know him seen his days? They remove landmarks, they rob and feed on flocks, they drive away the donkey of the fatherless, they take the widow's ox as a pledge, they turn the needy out of the way, the poor of the earth have hidden together. See, as wild donkeys in the wilderness they go about their tasks, eager seekers for prey. The desert gives his bread for the children. They reap his fodder in a field, and they glean the vineyard of the wicked. They spend the night naked, without a garment and without covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the hills and have embraced a rock for lack of shelter. They snatch away the fatherless from the breast and take a pledge from the poor. Naked they shall go without a garment, and hungry they shall take away sheaves. They press out oil within their walls, wine presses they shall tread, yet suffer thirst. Men groan in the city, and the beings of the wounded cry out, and Eloah does not regard it as foolish. They have become rebels against the light. They have not known his ways, nor remained in his paths. The murderer rises at daylight, he slays the poor and needy, and in the night he is as a thief. And the eye of the adulterer watches for dusk, saying, no one sees me, and he puts a covering on the face. In the dark he has broken into houses. By day they shut themselves up. They have not known light. For all of them, morning is the same as the shadow of death, when he discerns the extreme fears of the shadow of death. He is swift on the face of the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. He does not turn into the way of vineyards. Drought and heat snatch away snow waters. The grave, sinners. The womb forgets him. The worm feeds sweetly on him. He is remembered no more, and wickedness is broken like a tree, treating evil the barren who does not bear, and does no good for the widow. But he draws the mighty away with his power. He rises up, and no one is certain of life. He gives him safety, and he leans on it, yet his eyes are on their ways. They are lifted up for a little while, then they are gone. Then they shall be brought low. Like all, they are gathered up, and they are cut off like the heads of grain. And if it is not so, who proves me a liar and makes my word worthless? Iyob, Job, chapter 25. And Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, rule and reverence belong to him, making peace in his high places. Is there any number to his armies? And on whom does his light not rise? So how could man be righteous before El? Or how could he be flawless who was born of a woman? See, even the moon does not shine, and the stars have not been flawless in his eyes. How much less man, a maggot, and a son of man, a worm? Iyob, Job, chapter 26. And Iyob answered and said, how have you helped the powerless, saved in arm not strong? How have you given counsel to the unwise, or declared sound advice to many? With whom have you spoken words, and whose spirit came from you? The dead wait, those under the waters, and those inhabiting them. The grave is naked before him, and destruction has no covering. He stretched out the north over emptiness, hanging the earth upon naught, binding up waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not torn under them, covering the surface of his throne, spreading his cloud over it. He drew a limit on the surface of the waters, at the boundary of light and darkness. The columns of the Shemaim tremble and are stunned at his reproof. By his power he has calmed the sea, and by his understanding he struck down Rahab. By his Ruah he adorned the Shemaim, his hand whirled the fleeing serpent. See, these are the fringes of his ways, and how little a matter is heard of him, and who understands the thunder of his power? Iyob, Job, chapter 27. And Iyob again took up his discourse and said, as El lives, who has turned aside my right ruling, and El Shaddai, who has made my life bitter, as long as my breath is in me, and the spirit of Eloah in my nostrils, my lips do not speak unrighteousness, nor my tongue utter deceit. Far be it from me that I grant that you are right. Until I die, I would not turn aside my integrity from me. My righteousness I hold fast, and I do not let it go. My heart does not reproach me as long as I live. Let my enemy be like the wicked, and he who rises up against me like the unrighteous. For what is the expectancy of the defiled one when he cuts off, when Eloah takes away his life? Would El hear his cry when distress comes upon him? Would he delight himself in El Shaddai, call on Eloah at all times? Let me teach you by the hand of El, that which is with El Shaddai I do not hide. See, all of you have seen it. Why then are you altogether vain? This is the portion of a wicked man with El, and the inheritance of cruel ones, which they receive from El Shaddai. If his children are increased, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not have enough to eat. Those who remain of him are buried in death, and their widows do not weep. Though he heaps up silver like dust, and lays up garments like clay, he lays up, but the righteous puts it on, and the innocent divides the silver. He built his house like a moth, like a booth which a watchman made. He lies down, a rich man, but he is not gathered. When he opens his eyes, it is no more. Alarms overtake him like a flood. A storm wind shall steal him away in the night. The east wind takes him away, and he is gone, for it sweeps him from his place, and it hurls itself against him and does not spare. He swiftly flees from its power. It claps its hands at him, and it hisses him out of his place. Iyob, Job, chapter 28. Indeed, there is a mine for silver in a place where gold is refined. Iron is taken from the earth, and copper is smelted from ore. An end to darkness he has appointed, and to every limit he is searching, to rocks in deepest darkness. He opens a shaft far away from people. They are forgotten by feet. They hang far away from men. They swing to and fro. Earth, out of which grows food, is turned underneath as by fire. Its stones are the place of sapphires, and it has dust of gold. No bird of prey knows the path, nor has the hawk's eye seen it. The proud beasts have not trodden it, nor has the fierce lion passed over it. He puts his hand on the flint. He shall overturn the mountains at the roots. He cuts out channels in the rocks, and his eye sees all that is precious. He dams up the sources of the rivers, and he brings to light what is hidden. And wisdom, where is it found? And where is the place of understanding? Man does not know its value, and it is not found in the land of the living. The deep has said, it is not in me, and the sea has said, it is not with me. Gold is not given for it, nor is silver weighed out at its price. It is not valued in the gold of Ophir, in precious shohem or sapphire. Gold or crystal are not to be compared with it, nor is it exchanged for a vessel of fine gold. No mention is made of coral or crystal, for the price of wisdom is above rubies. The topaz of Cush is not to be compared with it, nor is it valued in clean gold. And wisdom, from where does it come? And where is the place of understanding? It has been hidden from the eyes of all living, and concealed from the birds of the Shemaim. Destruction and death have said, with our ears we have heard a report of it. Elohim has understood its way, and he has known its place. For he looks to the ends of the earth, sees all under the Shemaim, making a weight for the wind, and measuring out the waters by measure. When he made a law for the rain, and a way for the lightning of thunder, then he saw wisdom and declared it. He prepared it, and also searched it out. And he said to man, see, the reverence of Yahuah, that is wisdom, and to turn from evil is understanding. Iyob, Job, chapter 29. And Iyob again took up his discourse and said, Oh, that I were as in months past, as in the days when Eloah protected me, when his lamp shone on my head, when I walked in the dark by his light. as I was in the days of my autumn, when the intimacy of Eloah was on my tent, when El Shaddai was still with me, when my children were around me, when my steps were bathed with cream, and the rock poured out rivers of oil for me, when I went out to the gate by the city to take my seat in the open square, the young men saw me and hid, and the aged rose up, they stood. Rulers held back their words and laid a hand on their mouth. The voice of leaders was hushed, and their tongue clung to the roof of their mouth. For when the ear heard, it barach me, and when the eye saw, it gave witness of me, because I rescued the poor who cried out, and the fatherless who had no helper. The barakah of the perishing one would come upon me, and I made the widow's heart sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it robed me. Right ruling was my cloak and turban. I was eyes to the blind, and I was feet to the lame. I was a father to the poor, and I investigated the case which I did not know. I broke the jaws of the perverse and snatched the prey from his teeth. Then I thought I would die in my nest and increase my days as the sand, my root reaching out to the waters, and dew lying all night on my branch, my esteem fresh within me, and my bow renewed in my hand. To me they listened, and they waited and kept silent at my counsel. After my words they did not speak again, and my speech settled on them. And they waited for me like the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the later rain. I smiled at those who did not believe, and the light of my face they did not dim. I chose the way for them, and sat as chief, and I dwelt like a sovereign in the army, like one who comforts mourners. Iyob, Job, chapter 30. But now they laugh at me, those younger than I, whose fathers I would have refused to put with my sheepdogs. Of what use to me is the strength of their hands, since their manhood power has perished? They are dried up from lack and hunger. They flee to a parched land, formerly a waste and ruin. They pluck salt herbs by the bushes and broom tree roots for their food. They were driven out from the midst. They shouted at them as at a thief, to dwell in the gullies of wadis, holes of the ground, and clefts. Among the bushes they cry out, under the nettles they huddled together. Sons of fools, even sons without a name, they have been whipped out of the land. And now I have become their song, and I am a byword to them. They have loathed me, they have kept far from me, and did not refrain from spitting in my face. Because he has loosed my bowstring and afflicted me, they have thrown off restraint in my presence. At my right hand a broad rises. They pushed away my feet, and they raise up against me their destructive ways. They have broken up my path. They gain by my ruin. No one restrains them. They come as a wide breach, rushing on me under the ruins. Destructions are turned upon me. They pursue my life as the wind, and my welfare has passed like a cloud. And now my life pours itself out. Days of affliction seize me. My bones have been pierced in me at night, and my gnawings never lie down. By great exertion is my garment changed. It girds me as the collar of my coat, throwing me into the mud, and I have become like dust and ashes. I cry out to you, but you do not answer me. I stand up, and you understand me. You have become cruel to me. With the power of your hand you oppose me. You lift me up to the wind, making me to ride it, and you melt me in a storm. For I have known that you bring me to death, and to the house appointed for all living. Yet does not one in a heap of ruins stretch out his hand, or in calamity cry out for help? Did I not weep for him who was in trouble? Was my being not grieved for the poor? When I looked for good, then evil came to me, and when I waited for light, darkness came. My inward parts boiled and did not rest. Days of affliction went before me. I went about blackened, but not by the sun. I stood up in the assembly. I cried for help. I became a brother of jackals and a companion of ostriches. My skin became black upon me, and my bones burned with heat. So my lyre becomes mourning, and my flute the sound of weeping. Iyob, Job, chapter 31. I have made a covenant with my eyes. How then could I gaze at a maiden? For what is the portion of Eloah from above, and the inheritance of El Shaddai from on high? Is it not calamity to the perverse, and strangeness to the workers of wickedness? Does he not see my ways, and number all my steps? If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has hurried to deceit, let him weigh me in a right scale, and let Eloah know my integrity. If my step turns from the way, or my heart has gone after my eyes, or if any spot has clung to my hands, let me sow and another eat, and let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbor's door, let my wife grind for another, and let others bow down over her. For that would be a wicked scheme and a punishable wickedness. For that would be a fire that burns to destruction and take root among all my increase. If I have refused the plea of my male servant or my female servant when they complained against me, then what should I do when El rises up? And when he punishes, what should I answer him? Did he not who made me in the womb make him? And did not one fashion us in the womb? If I have withheld the poor from pleasure, or caused the widow's eyes to fail, or eaten my piece of bread by myself, and the fatherless did not eat of it. But from youth he grew up with me as a father, and from my mother's womb I guided her. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of garments, or a poor one without covering, if his loins have not barak me, and he warmed himself with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the fatherless when I saw I had help in the gate, let my arm fall from my shoulder, and my arm be broken from the bone. For I am in dread of destruction from El, and from his excellence I could not escape. If I have put my trust in gold, or called fine gold my refuge, if I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, and because my hand had gained much, if I have looked at the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, that too is a punishable wickedness, for I would have denied El above. If I have rejoiced when he who hated me was ruined, or lifted myself up when evil found him, also I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his life. If the men of my tent did not say, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? The stranger did not have to spend the night in the street, for I have opened my doors to the way. If I have covered my transgressions like Adam by hiding my wickedness in my bosom, then let me fear the great crowd and dread the scorn of clans. Then I would be silent and go out of the door. Who would give me a hearing? See my signature? Let El Shaddai answer me, and let my accuser write an account. Would I not take it up on my shoulder, bind it on me for a crown? I would declare to him the number of my steps. I would approach him like a prince. If my land cries out against me, or its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruit without payment, or caused its owner to die, let thistles grow inside of wheat, and useless weed instead of barley. The words of Iyob are ended.